Ladies and gentlemen of the media, a few minutes ago, I signed a directive declaring a high-profile person a fugitive from justice.
You can't do this to me, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, you are a leader. Today is Ofori Atta. Next will be other appointees. Mr. Speaker, we must not allow this.
7MTV New Vision.
O.S.P. Office of the Special Prosecutor will declare Honorable Ken Ofori Atta Kane Swafana Oshesi Kasem. So one more declare no wanted fugitive a echrese opinion oni ni papa ne sem anase djuma wedding no ode ne ho akembra akope baby atem. Honorable Ken Ofori Atta etro krata a emunsem no echrese wenya ntie se bambo djumayefo bi akotwa ne dan a wesi ho ewo eye cantonment osu se wom ye hwehwemu bi na osu se O.S.P eni ho ebi wei ena nam so a ema O.S.P so ebe press conference o kire se ne Honorable Ken ka no nim ho bi O.S.P eni ho hwe eye ntino nkononko ye ni hwehwemu a kire se obi ekwa ni hwehwemu e de afane dan a ewo cantonment eho ena O.S.P no kire se January busumi mu ena womo etonkra edema Honorable Ken Ofori Atta se womo hia no ama naba abeyi nsembise bi ano no abebugu nkonta esan se nsembi a efa GR mekyere abandum ekwa womo ehwe ye foto anase esikasem eso mekyere ye taxes sanso so ena ECD ho sensem ewo mafe ambulance spare part ho sensem ene dwuma ekwa bodo a womo so se eho sikasem afa bebi a womo ehia tiase ene eho kontebo na we ena nam so a ema Honorable Ken so eto ne nkra edema O.S.P se bibi sunti ene wakopiem ewo obi mai so anasa ma no nti wonya botere emre pim oba obeba abepiem ewo O.S.P enim na wa kyerɛkyerɛ ne nsɛm ebu no konta.
We have our unique methods of conducting searches, and we have uniquely designed insignia identifying ourselves, and not just by a statement that we are from the O.S.P. This is one such main insignia. A person cannot just show up and say they are from the O.S.P. It's cheap. Anyone can say that.
Nepa ne say, ena obi a wato nkra dia ma no a ono so de ne ho nya no aba. Obe declare no wanted. Say enye obi akeke, opanyin mu a wabe osoafo pen. Enye se finance ministry nkwana na wo. Na oya soani ansana. Ye de sa ministerial position no e de ema na nti wo hwe na bibi nkoyi a wo ni bebi o wato nsa afre no ono so ma onwaye eba ne say all of a sudden obe declare no so wanted any asem you ko social media na so a timem for do na e na e ka ho asem na na ba na moa wako tweet e wo Twitter say e ye no kresa Honorable Ken Ofori Atta papa no ne dwumedie bia nkoyi nti wombara na ombe ni ho ano adodo na so echa e de abo Honorable Ken Ofori Atta na imrahwe weja force eko asetena womo eko asetena san say asemi abaye topic yi womo so e de woma no etumu bia nam so e ma Honorable afenyo marking HLS O.S.P womo hwehwemu ni womo dwumedi a womo eye womo hwe na womo enye ne ye esan say obi dan a wesi a woni ho ntumi mbo nwura ho keke say okwa ye hwehwemu enti womo emfa mra kwan so emfa ndi womo dwumedi.
Mr. Speaker, thank you for the opportunity to make my comments on this matter. Mr. Speaker, Honorable Ken Ofori Atta, a former Minister of Finance and a former presidential envoy, has contributed to nation building. Mr. Speaker, in 2021, when His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo nominated him for the Finance Ministry portfolio, this House had to wait because he indicated he was unwell and seeking for medical treatment outside. Mr. Speaker, in fact, when he even came, he was the only minister that his vetting took 2 days. And in between, this House indulged him to enable him take some break, to enable him proceed with his vetting. Eventually, he left government as a cabinet minister. And, Mr. Speaker, for the records, on the 2nd of January 2025, he wrote to the then Chief of Staff that he needed to travel to Mayo Clinic in Minnesota, USA, for some medical procedure. Mr. Speaker, after President Mahama had taken office, he again wrote to the current Chief of Staff in a letter dated the 22nd of January 2025, indicating that he would again be absent from Ghana for the same purpose. Mr. Speaker, in fact, in the said letter to the Chief of Staff, he attached a letter from the hospital that he was seeking treatment. Mr. Speaker, indeed, the O.S.P. wrote to him on the 24th of January. In fact, this is the first letter that he received from the O.S.P. Mr. Speaker, in the said letter, Mr. Ofori Atta instructed his lawyers to respond to let the O.S.P. know that indeed he was out of the jurisdiction seeking medical treatment. Mr. Speaker, what happened yesterday by state security operatives must be condemned by all of us. Mr. Speaker, if you have any issue, follow due process of law. It is not enough for national security to raid his home. It is not enough to carry armed military men to his residence to terrorize his children and by extension his neighbors. Mr. Speaker, we must, as a House, be united with one voice to condemn this act. Today is Ofori Atta. Next will be other appointees. Mr. Speaker, we must not allow this.
And a honorable John Naponso say, or no crowd to the pain. It's so kind maybe I know when fear, bamboo my four bora ho, a brahman may get any name ho. No one will be standing same moment to turn along. No phone in your woman difference and the honorable Ken, where the Abama on your way in our time. Never never yano, Nasuji, and Brafamobia.
You can't do this to me, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, you are a leader. And you should know that when something is public record, especially in this House, we do not tender any evidence. Professor Mike Okwe, then Speaker, made a ruling on the matter in this chamber. You were seated here. Professor Mike Okwe wrote to the CID in respect of this matter. And so what other evidence do you want me to tender when it's captured in the Hansard? Anything captured in the Hansard, you don't tender any evidence. Mr. Speaker, I am saying that on that fateful day, Mr. Speaker, on that fateful day, when my house was raided by AK-47 wielding national security operatives, when they banged on my door, creating fear and panic, sending my 6-year-old child into a state of hysteria, into a state of fear. We had members here. They never commented on it. And I commend Professor Michael Quay on that day when he stood up and ruled that what they were doing was wrong. Mr. Speaker, they took my phone, they took my laptops, and took it to the United Kingdom to investigate me. Today, a very simple matter. You are scared of it. Mr. Speaker, let me explain something. The O.S.P. has declared Mr. Ofori Atta as a fugitive. Mr. Speaker, in our local language, fugitive, in our local language, it means that what didn't work Kamura. What didn't work Kamura. Or, to put it simply, Wajibam. Or in the Hausa language, Otilo. Or to put it in a more simpler way, Yagudu. It's as simple as that, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, we should not be afraid of accountability. As public officials, when they took my laptop, it got to a point they couldn't even open the iPhone. I told them I was willing to come and use my fingerprint. It was then and there that they told me that the phones had been taken to the United Kingdom. I had to give them the password. Eventually, the very America that I was accused of, the minister was dismissed because it came here padded by almost $800 million. Mr. Speaker, on this auspicious day, on this day of reckoning, on this day of accountability, the only thing I can say is that we wish the man in white.
5 minutes.
The best of luck.
Is up.
But Mr. Speaker,
5 minutes is up.
The finance minister should come here and settle the scores as well as
5 minutes is up.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable.
Esan se o maisika nyina ye de enye finance minister kwansika ntino ene NPP fo no mu bi nso abekasa Honorable Vincent Eko a ono so edon NPP amanyoko no abekasa wo kire se Honorable Ken ono ankasa no insembise bi o ha na wo mo ahia e woni ho na so be frɛ na so de twe no ho ene se de O.S.P afrɛ na onfa ne oye nyina nto nchen na ombra ombe nyi ho ano e ma so di mbra o mai.
But if you look at the Ghana Water Company letter very well, they even, as it were, disobeyed the directive and went beyond the December and then November. If you read the letter well, they have disobeyed the directive from the presidency. They are even doing November. Clearly, there's a case to answer. So, prospective people who are going to be affected from the various agencies, in future, the coming days, we are going to see. And those persons, I'm sure, will contact the number and the email that I put out. Now I have about 60 people who have called and given their information to me. In fact, from here I can give you all the details in my office. But I'm hoping that in the coming days we should have a number of them so that we can represent them ably in court. Finally,
so and NDC National Chairman Honorable Asiedu Nketia General Mosquito ono so ene host ba ko twetwe nkomo radio so no so kire say NDC for eba be no wo de bo hye ne bae se wo mo eba de a impenifo akodu a wo mo abefom oman sika no wo mo be ye ho hwe mo nyina anya chi wo mo nyina kwakotu ene nti ne Honorable Ken ye declare we wanted a hwe se odwumedie nya on bet go isan se dodo na nim se odwumedie anko ya waba abefom oman sika.
The maker check Ghana for ne say your keen interest in say Mahama must not fail. Enti bibia SSC ye na ye di a contract no so with Ghana for no ye be near di ye boshe no so enunti ene mate say we so start a friend is a special prosecutor so
yes.
But be away she be a ombekwa kofa number ama waba be yin Ken Ofori Atta
eso yare
obeba
yare ampaso no
obeba evidence pa ben na O.S.P no enya won mo agina so e declare Honorable Ken Ofori Atta wanted fugitive and ko bi o ye wanted dem say obi a anka wakobo kroni bi a we dwane a yenhu na chiri kwan kra na ye ka se we dia o ye wanted na obi a woni na dinkita ho woni bebi o wa onu so ama ngwaye sem de pemo beba no ababonten so abe declare no wanted openyim wase eno ndan chen timemfo dodo na so na de wo ma no atoma wo so kire se no kure se papa no na dwumadie bi enso en dey san se rumre bi ye ka se onbeye media review ana otwe no ho eno beba wo china onba eno beba wo san se ma na ototo papa so de no kure se papa no wafun omen isika eno kure de for adwentre for to comment section near ne afoforo enche asemi baby a ekwakodu bia 7 TV network edieni ene yasun edi enchire ne bebe bia beba abesomo ewoti dwumedi eso
7 MTV New Vision.